Welcome back. Honestman, Skyrim optimized, here with Mary Abernathy in Arcadia's Cauldron in Whiterun. Last episode, we created our first set of crafting gear, which features a 36% potency for potions, weapons, and armor improvements. In order to get there, we had to take our enchanting to 100, which we did successfully using only the soul gems that I happened to collect throughout my travels to this point in the game. I have not used Soul Trap at all. That said, if you find yourself running short on soul gems, or if you want to push enchanting much earlier than I presented in this playthrough, then there are a couple of alternative strategies I want to make note of. First and foremost, you can just buy them. And when I talk about soul gems in this context, obviously I'm talking about filled soul gems. Filled petty soul gems are very easy to come by at general goods vendors as well as magic vendors, and you really don't need anything higher than petty just for leveling enchanting. Now, when it comes time to enchant gear that you intend to keep, certainly you want the best possible, and grand is the best possible. But likewise, those are easy to come by at vendors with a little bit of patience as well. And indeed, I'm going to be supplementing my stock of grand souls by leaning heavily on vendors. An alternative approach, obviously, is to fill gems yourself using a soul trap spell or an enchanted soul trap weapon. And you have access to a soul trap weapon very early in the game if you pursue the Mace of Molag Bal in Markarth. I featured that quest in my survival playthrough with Daenerys in the latter half of episode 6, Blood on the Ice, so I'll have a card for that here if you want to check out the details of that quest. Another tool that I have to mention here is Azura's Star, or the Black Star more specifically, which is an indestructible soul gem capable of holding grand level souls. I have not yet obtained that Daedric artifact in any of my playthroughs, I just haven't really felt a need for it, but do be aware of it. There are some excellent strategies out there that involve combining the Mace of Molag Bal with the Black Star to help power level enchanting. But without further ado, it's time for us to do some alchemy. Oh, but before we do, I should make special note of my setup. So it might not be immediately obvious, but you want the crafting headpiece. You want the one that improves your potions. You do not want the ethereal crown in this situation. Normally the ethereal crown is our go-to, but this is sort of the exception of the rule. Our 36% to potions here is going to give us a better return than the Lover's Stone bonus that we have tucked away in the ethereal crown. And then obviously the rest of our gear has our potion buffs as well. In addition, we have all of our boons in play here. We have Lover's Comfort from our hubby, we have Seeker of Shadows, and we have the Thief Stone. And then of course we want to start putting perk points into our tree here, Alchemist. This is going to make our potions stronger, and stronger potions means more valuable potions. Higher value means more XP. So you want to be watching this as you go and putting points in as you go, as opposed to trying to push deep into alchemy and then put the perk points in after. You're going to be leaving a lot of XP on the table with that approach. So next stop here is 20. And you'll note that I had 5 perk points in my pool before I began this process, which should be about perfect. I'm going to need 7 total. Now, you might be tempted to jump into your highest value potions right away. Don't do it. That's a mistake. As we invest these perks, it's going to improve the value of our potions. So if we have a 100 gold potion that doubles to 200, that's going to be much less of a gain than if we have a 1,000 gold potion that doubles to 2,000. So you want to slow play it. You kind of want to start with your lower value potions first, and then graduate into your higher ticket items. I'm going to have my cheat sheet of recipes in the description to the video here, if you want to refer to that. It's sort of hand-picked combination of high value, easy to find ingredients, etc. Roughly in order of low value to high value. Don't quote me on that, but it's roughly in that order. And I'll also have a link to the unofficial Elder Scroll pages. They have some great content on alchemy recipes. In any case, we're going to get started here. Ectoplasm and Red Mountain Flower. Go. Okay, we're just short by a hair. Let's go and do Falmer Ear and Troll Fat. There we go. That gets us to 20. Go. And then our next stop is 30 for Benefactor. Just a hair shy again. Can do Death Bell, Dwarven Oil, and Salt. This next one I think is an excellent recipe for leveling because the ingredients are so easy to come by. Salt, obviously salt is plentiful. Dwarven Oil, I did not go out of my way to get any of this Dwarven Oil. This is just what I happened upon in the Dwemer Ruins that I've featured in this playthrough. And then Death Bell. Several episodes ago I mentioned planter recommendations, and I'll repeat those in the description to this video. Death Bell was one of the things that I recommended putting into a planter. So all three of these I think are really easy to come by. And it's a pretty good value potion. That gets us to 30, so Benefactor. It's going to help us even more. And now 40 is our next stop. Next stop is 60, but we'll pick up some training before we go all the way to 60 though. I think that's a pretty good spot. Now, we're going to get some training, so obviously this is where you'd want to switch to your Ethereal Crown. Now, I've been featuring Pickpocket a lot, and you can definitely use that strategy here, but just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to show an alternate approach, which is sort of the barter approach, because any money you pay her for training is going to go into her shop. So, let's just gobble up 5 levels here. And you can see she has 5,328 gold on hand because I just paid her most of that. And again, if you have bartering equipment, I do have bartering equipment. I'm not going to bother switching to it. Again, this is just sort of demonstration purposes. We'll just give her a bunch of these potions that we were making. And some of these. And get all our money back and then some. Back to our circlet. And again, this is sort of demonstration purposes. Normally you wouldn't want to buy 5 levels of training all at once like that. You'd want to do like 2, maybe 3, then come over and get a sort of a free level by doing something cheap. In this case, I'm just going to do a barter potion, which again, you know, you can just make a barter potion, use that as part of your bartering, obviously, and get an even better exchange. But we level up here. Still on the lookout for 60, but we can buy more training now. Switch back to the Ethereal Crown. Ran out of cash there. We have plenty of potions to sell her though. Go. And I'll just see what else she has. She's got a little salt. That's good. That's the only thing really jumping out at me. And we're just a sliver from 60 here, so I'm going to do another cheapie to get us over the mark. Next stop is 80. Picking back up with our Death Bell Dwarven Oil Salt. gets us some more training here. And again, just being really quick and dirty, a little sloppy here. I'm leaving a lot of money on the table. So we're getting into our potion of invisibility. So this is one of the really big ticket items. I maybe should have waited a little longer with this. Now you want to be a little careful with hanging moss. You basically want to have the same number of hanging moss that you have giant's toes. But I have 3 to spare here, so I'm going to use those up. Here we go. So that's all 7 perk points into the alchemy tree. You want to maximize Alchemist, Physician, and then Benefactor. We have Creep Cluster and some mushrooms. That's a really good one. Blue Mountain Flower, Glow Dust, Glowing Mushroom. Again, this is another one. Glowing Mushrooms, I would recommend having in a planter. Blue Mountain Flowers, I haven't really been picking, but those are super abundant. Glow Dust becomes the limiting factor here, but certainly be on the lookout for glow dust. Back to some Death Bell, River Betty, Wisp Wrappings. These are harder to come by. River Betties and Wisp Wrappings, they're around, but I would say they're more rare. And just because I have 1 River Betty left, I ran out of Wisp Wrappings. I'll do this one. And then our final recipe, Bear Claws, Giant's Toes, Hanging Moss. And we're going to have plenty of this. Okay, there you can see. This is for 6,000 and change. Just crazy. And yeah, I could do 6 more. But again, just sort of for purposes of demonstration, I'm actually going to pull the plug there. Let's just do this to get to 89. So we can get the rest of the way basically with freebies. Obviously, Arcadia here, she could only train us to 75. That's why I stopped talking to her at the end there. You can switch over to Babette. You know, as long as you have foot in the door with the Dark Brotherhood, Babette is a master level alchemist. She can train you all the way up to 90. And obviously she's a vendor as well, so the exact same thing. You can just sort of barter your way into free training. Even just glancing at what we accomplished here without bartering for a lot of the training, a lot of the higher level training, you can see the values on these potions are just crazy. 2,800, 3,200, 3,400, and then down into here, 4,100, 6,200, 6,300, 3,300. Alchemy can get you crazy rich. So if Pickpocket isn't your jam, you can very easily just say, okay, I'm not going to do any pickpocketing. Instead, I'm going to use Alchemy to subsidize my training. And that's either through directly bartering with trainers, in the case of Alchemy itself, or obviously you would sell these potions for cash and then use that cash to train whatever you want. Similarly, enchanting, right? If you don't like Alchemy, in my first playthrough, I did nothing with Alchemy. If you don't like Alchemy, you don't like Pickpocket, you can get rich on enchanting, right? Banish. You want to get Banish as soon as humanly possible and put that on whatever weapons you can get your hands on. That's a huge cash cow. For armor pieces, Sneak is great. Armor or jewelry, Sneak is excellent. Carry weight isn't terrible. There are a lot of different ways to make crazy amounts of money. And it's strange to me because Pickpocket, I feel like, gets a lot of bad press as far as being an exploit, quote unquote. But it's actually the worst option, quite frankly, because all you can ever do with Pickpocket is break even, whereas alchemy and enchanting allow you to generate incredible revenue. Jumping over to Dawnstar to cross the finish line on our alchemy, I went through all the trouble of doing this side quest, retrieving the ring of pure mixtures for Frida, that I'm going to pay it off. I'm going to cash this in, even though I have plenty of ingredients that I don't really need it. Let's get Frida her ring back here.
The mortar and pestle makes potions, if you can't tell from the name. Just step up to the counter.
All right, Frida, I have your ring.
Thank you. Here, let an old alchemist pass on some of her secrets to you.
Great. And now that we're at 90, we can close the gap with skill books, thanks to our Scholar's Insight, giving us an extra skill point per skill book. 92. 94. 96. Oh, 97. Good. That's actually perfect. There is a bug to be aware of. If you try to train, and that could be through the form of a book, and your skill XP is already at 100%, you're going to get shortcut. So it only gave me 1 here. If I did not have Scholar's Insight, it might have just given me nothing. So just be aware of that. If I was being a little more careful going through this, I would have been topping off my XP. But we can take care of that here. I'll just do another barter potion really quick. Get us over the hump. And then our final book, Song of the Alchemists. 100. And I do want to mention really quick that Lamy in Morthal, she's the alchemist there. She offers a free level of alchemy training in return for a book. One of the books that I just read, actually. But the problem with that is that she is herself a trainer and is limited in how high she can train you. I think this is a bug, but nevertheless, this is the behavior as of the most recent unofficial Skyrim patch. If you are already past the point that she can train you, her reward is nothing, basically. So the only time you actually get that reward is if you're really low in alchemy. So we could have done that much earlier in this process. It's just not worth it. It's just not worth the trouble. As you can see, we didn't have any trouble whatsoever maxing out alchemy here, but just be aware of that if you're trying to plan a route and see, oh, there's another free level that I could get. You'd have to get it very early in the process if you're looking for a free level from Lamy. In any case, our journey in alchemy is complete, which means it's time for some potions. Oh, but do note, since we helped her out, Spriggan Sap, that's great. And we kind of have an eye, right? We kind of know what's good. Vampire Dust, Troll Fat, that's great. Glow Dust. Some of these are stealing. I feel like the best stuff was all free. Some salt in there? Yeah. But let's do some potions. This is what we've been sort of preparing for. This is the whole reason to come this far. I'm going to do some Blisterwort and Glowing Mushroom. And there you can see Fortify Smithing, 161%. That's good. I'm going to make a couple just so we can kind of keep track of these numbers easily. And then our enchanting potion is Snowberries and Spriggan Sap. And get 40% for enchanting. And then I'm also going to do some Pickpocket here. 161% for Pickpocket. Do a couple of those. And now the last crafting skill on our list is smithing. We need to take smithing to 100. Once again, back at the Skyforge, our best friend Yorland Greymane is here, and we're going to max out our smithing. Now we do still have training for our current character level, so we're going to gobble up 1 level here. You can see the cost is very high. Now, if we test this out here, we are at 0% steel. And this is with a set of pickpocketing gear that I had crafted. The ring is lagging behind a bit. The ring is still at 36, but I have gloves and boots at 58, as well as 58 on the necklace. But remember, I was able to make fortify pickpocketing potions for 161% improvement. Let's give this a try. And now we can see 99%. If you don't have the steel mod that I have installed, this would max at 90% instead of 99%. I have an extra mod that scales it with my skill level. Nevertheless, either way, as you can see, this now becomes viable. Easy. And we do have certainly all of our appropriate buffs in play, right? Seeker of Might, Lover's Comfort. We have the Ethereal Crown on, so we have Lover's Stone. We have the Warrior Stone. And certainly don't forget about Ancient Knowledge. So we're getting a crazy amount of bonus XP for training, which means that we are very close to a full other level up here. So I'm just going to do an Emerald Ring, I guess. There we go. And more training. You get the idea. So I'm going to get 5 levels of training here, get my money back, and obviously be managing my bonus XP in between training, and we'll pick up afterwards. Okay, so after just a mere 5 levels of training with Yorland, which was more like 7.5 or 8 levels because of all the bonus XP, we very quickly find ourselves at smithing level 86. And I had a lot more gas in the tank. You can see here just tons of gems that I simply didn't need. So we're back in Dawnstar to cross the finish line on smithing. And our first stop is this gentleman here who wanted a book that we tracked down.
Seems like no one is getting a decent night's rest in Dawnstar, stranger. Best buy your steel and move on.
Yeah, I'll see to that in time, but for now, I have your book.
Don't know what the Red Guards see in books, but this will make my Saren happy. Thank you. Let me show you some tricks around the fort.
Great.
Come back if you need steel.
Jumping over to Markarth, we have another smith who was in search of a book. I'll note in advance that the book she's after, Last Scabbard of Akrash, I actually have 2 of them. Otherwise, you obviously want to read it before you give it to her, because this is a smithing book.
Need a new blade?
I've got a spare copy of that book.
Books. Don't know why the Imperials like these so much. This should help the boy, though, Malakath willing. Here, let me show you how an orc learns to smith.
And I'll just do a sapphire ring here to top us off.
Master. That's what the bar right there.
91. 3. Throw in a diamond ring here. Six. 98. There we go. All the way back in Breeze Home now, a little quieter environment. I want to briefly note that with my most recent character level, I've switched focus to training Destruction. So Destruction now up to 34. But the reason we're here is because our alchemy, our smithing, and our enchanting are all max. And that means it's time for another set of crafting gear. Now, I want to note that we're getting into diminishing returns here. I think that you could just call it done with your first set of crafting gear and then completely ignore alchemy, for that matter, if you wanted, and just rely on finding elixirs of enchantment and smithing from loot or from vendors. They're rare, but you can buy them. And I think enchanting caps out at 25% and smithing caps out at 50%, if memory serves, which isn't nearly as high as you could take it with alchemy, but that's an option. Similarly, you could take it that next step and max out alchemy to get much better potions. That's an option too. That'll get you even higher. And then this third step, is going to take you even further. But, I leave it to you to assess the value proposition of pushing this far or further. This is the optimized series. I'm going to show you the highest numbers I can show. So all of that said, caveats and addendums aside, we are going to create our second set of crafting gear. And this set is going to be throwaway. We are literally going to use it one time and then just end up selling it. So don't go crazy over naming or which items you use exactly. It's not going to matter. As with our first set of gear, we have all of the appropriate buffs in play. We have Acidal's Genius, which is plus 10 enchanting, as well as Seeker of Sorcery, which is a plus 10%. And then we're going to combine that with the enchanting potion that we were able to create when we maxed our alchemy, which gives us 40% stronger enchanting. Now I'm going to put some archery on here just to help with sell price, because I know I'm going to sell these. Gloves, I will do smithing and alchemy just so we can see the numbers for both. And then here, I'm going to do sneak. Again, just trying to help with the sell price here. Even though money isn't really a thing anymore. There we go. Okay, so we are looking sharp now in our fishing hat. We now have 40% improvement to both potions and weapon and armor improvements, up from 36%, which was our first set of gear. So I'm equipped for alchemy here, and then of course I have Seeker of Shadows in play, since we're going to make some potions. And here I'm going to make a smithing potion. I'll do 2. Again, just kind of keep track of the numbers. We're probably not even going to use that, but just for demonstration. What we really care about, though, is enchanting. And this is up to 43%. Previously, it was at 40%. Let's make a few of those. Now that we have our 43% enchanting potion, it's time to create our third and final set of crafting gear. So that's what I'm going to do here. Obviously, I need to change my equipment and get the right boons in play, like Seeker of Sorcery. But that's what I'm going to do, and then we'll pick up afterwards. And here we are, our final set of crafting gear. We went from 36% to 40% to now 41% for potions, weapons, and armor improvements. And as you can see, I have alchemy and smithing here on the gloves, and on the necklace, and on the ring. Our chest piece can't do alchemy, so I have alteration there instead, alongside smithing. And our headpiece can't do smithing, so I just did lockpicking. I thought that might provide a little utility, along with alchemy. That equipment allows us to create our maximum strength potions, which for enchanting here is 44%, which is 1% stronger than the prior round, our phase 2 round. And then our first round was 40. So we went from 40 to 43 to 44. Smithing, as you can see, we started at 161% with our first set of crafting gear. Our second set brought us to 172, and our third and final set brought us to 174%. Now, I do want to note that since we gained 1% on our Fortify Enchanting Potion with this final round, I can see someone asking the question, well, does it make sense to make a fourth set of crafting gear? And the answer is no. Whether it's 43% or 44%, you will still max out at the same 41% improvement for the gear. So it's at this point that you'd want to make as many enchanting and smithing potions as possible. As you can see, I got 42 for smithing, which I feel good about. 12 for enchanting feels light. I'm going to want more than that, so I'm going to be on the lookout for ingredients. Now, once you're able to make as many enchanting and smithing potions that you could ever hope for, Certainly then you would have the option to potentially legendary alchemy here and refund the 7 points that we put in. I'll leave that to your discretion. The only other thing that I'll mention about alchemy is that snake blood up here is 50% resistance to all poisons, which is kind of nice depending on your equipment and your enchantment loadout. So do keep that in mind. And that's going to be a wrap. This episode, we took our alchemy from 15 all the way to 100 in one go. We finished leveling our smithing to 100. We created our second set of crafting gear, which ended up being a throwaway set. And we created our third and final set of crafting gear, which allows us to make our most powerful enchanting and smithing potions. So I'm going to put some of those potions to use, creating a few choice items to improve my survivability and improve my damage output. But we're not ready to create our end game gear just yet, not all of it, at least. We still have more pieces to assemble. And to that end, next episode, our journey is going to continue back in the land of Solstheim. Until then, thank you all so much. Please like and subscribe. This has been Honestman, and I will see you next time with more Skyrim Optimized.